Okay guys, so this is the art of filling the Kong. Alright, so this is the Kong, or one of his 3 Kongs, one of Astro's 3 Kongs. This is the biggest of the 3, and it's empty, as you can probably not see in the video, but there's nothing in there. It's just a rubber thing that he likes to chew on, but he only really likes to chew on it when there's food inside. So, this is what we're going to do. Take his kibbles, and we just kind of shove a bunch of kibbles in there. But that would just be too easy for him. He would just turn it upside down and, out it comes. So, in comes the wet food. And the wet food we use purely as a binder. I'll take them out. Alright, the wet food we just use to bind the kibbles together, make it sticky, so that the kibbles don't fall out very easily. They get all chunky and mushy, and that's what we want. So I put a lot. I put about maybe half full of the dry food right away, and then I take a pretty good size bit of the wet food, maybe a little more than that. You want to get it kind of, thick, so that it becomes kind of pasty in the middle. And you just kind of jam it in there, get it good and mixed around. I like to scoop around the edges until you're pretty sure. And you can look on the inside and kind of see what you're going for is just a really nice thick mix. Not necessarily, a gel of any kind, you don't want to mush up the dry food, but just so everything's stuck together in there, like nothing's, well, some of it's going to fall out, but that's okay, because we're actually going to freeze this, and once it's all frozen, the wet food really does its job, because he has a much harder time when it's frozen. So then you just shove in another good bit of the dry food, another good bit of the wet food. Just jam it in there and mix it around some more. And really just the same thing over and over again. But as I get towards the top, it gets a little bit different. I tend to put in a much smaller amount of the dry food and then a smaller amount of the wet food, and I just kind of layer it. I don't mix it as much, I just kind of like layer it in there so it forms nice, difficult layers of food for him to extract. And this may seem like a lot of work just to feed the dog, but really, just pulling this out of the freezer and handing it to him, and him taking 20, 25, in some cases 30 minutes when it's really full of a lot of wet food, then that is when it's worth it. You can do whatever you want. In the morning, I like to just make coffee, get myself in order, and he just sits there and eats his food. And that's why we do it. That, and because it provides him with a little bit of a challenge. Not just free food in a bowl for him, it's he has to work for it. And for him, it makes a big difference. His little brain needs constant attention and constant stimulation. So that's stuffing a Kong. Well, here, the last and one of the most important parts. When you get to the top, you kind of want to get your layers all the way up to the top, and then get a good size scoop of the wet food and press it down. Make like a nice thick seal right at the top, because that's going to freeze up and be the hardest top layer for him to get through. As you can see, it gets kind of even and just really thick. So we put that in the freezer, and then that becomes just solid ice wet food. And he has to lick through that before he gets to any dry food. And so, that's stuffing a Kong 101, 100, basic. And yeah, it's the same thing for the other ones, except just less food in each one. This one, this pink one, it's a lot smaller. That's like maybe a 5-10 minute quick little, just drop it on the ground, and that's about how long it lasts him. And yeah, you can't mix it around as well in that one because there's not much space. But otherwise, those are his Kongs, and good luck. If you have any questions, text me or Ashley, and we'll be able to help.